Hey, how's it going? I'm DJ Cairns. That's two letters, one name, DJ Cairns, C-A-I-R-N-S. This is my wife.
Amber Cairns.
And we're here today to talk about our testimony.
Yeah, we're both hoping that after this, that either you will think twice about making certain choices, or if you have already made some of these decisions, that there's a way out of it, that through Jesus Christ, there's hope. Or if you know somebody that's in the thralls of drug use, that there is hope. I actually grew up in the church. I was baptized at 8 years old. It's funny, I can remember after the baptismal service ended, I actually, I did something bad. I don't remember what it was, but I immediately stopped and asked for forgiveness because I did not want to be dirty. I wanted to stay white and clean. But, you know, as most kids probably do, you get older and the ways of the world look really, you know, fun and attractive to you, and I was curious. Obviously I had, you know, really good parents, and they would tell me not to do things, but never really told me why. And I think as I'm older now, I realize I really needed to know why I shouldn't do those things. And so, and I'm not blaming them or anything by any means. They were great parents. But for me, I was curious. And so as I got older, I first experimented with alcohol, and then I slowly moved into smoking weed, and then just gradually started using harder and harder drugs like cocaine and ecstasy and things like that. And that was all in high school, and that's where we met.
Yes, it's where we met, Odessa, Missouri.
Yes.
That's where I ended up. Well, I I grew up in northeast Kansas City. My beginnings weren't as happy or bright. You know, my mother and my father were drug addicts, drug dealers, and it was a bit tougher, you know, growing up. And I didn't know any different. But as I got older and I started to become more of a man, I started realizing how wrong things were, and how much it was it was a problem, the way that I was raised and neglected and whatnot. But oldest of four brothers, you know, we were somewhat in and out of church. My grandmother was really religious. I was saved after my uncle got ran over and died. I was saved by my grandmother, she was kind and religious and loving, and that was kind of a bright side of my life. But growing up around drugs, I seen them and was a witness to people doing them, and I as I got older and I moved around, I came to Odessa. I think I was 12. In sixth grade, and I met a friend here, and I said, we made a pact. We said, okay, we're not gonna be like our parents, you know, because my buddy, his dad had a marijuana he found, and he's like, man, we're not gonna be like our parents, and we're gonna like, you know, be wrestlers, and then then we're gonna be football players, and you know, and everything, you know, that we had planned for ourselves. And
It's funny that you say that, because I can remember, I think it was in ninth grade, and I was starting to drink more, but the drugs was absolutely out of the question.
Yeah.
And I can even remember my boyfriend at the time, I threatened him, because I had found out that he was smoking weed. And I threatened him that if he ever did it again, that I would break up with him. And then lo and behold, I ended up doing it myself. So
yeah, I never wanted to, you know, because I felt the wrath of drug use, you know, being neglected and hurt and let down. And you know, my mom and dad divorced when I was 10, and I didn't see my dad for a while, you know, so I went through it with drugs and the effects of what it has on people. So me and my friend, no, we're not going to do drugs, we're just going to be athletes. And then one day my mom came to me and said, DJ, if you ever want to smoke weed, you know, just do it here. And at the time I was like, no way, I can't believe you would even say this to me. But it put that germ, that little seed in my head, that in the back of my mind, I almost okayed it because my mother, was saying it's okay. But the majority of myself, I was like, no way. What kind of person would do that to their child? And as time went on, you get, when you're in 6th grade and you start becoming more of an adult, you start seeing like rap music. This is the 90s, seeing rap music and in the glorification of drug use and just through movies and everything. And everybody, begins to gravitate towards that sort of lifestyle. And
yeah, because it looks fun and intriguing and, kind of portrays it as being the cool thing to do.
Yeah.
And I mean, I and still am an introvert, but I still wanted to be seen. And for some reason, I got it twisted in my mind, and I thought this would be a way for people to see me without me actually having to be out there, because people would know that I was a drug user. For some reason, I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
And then I think what kicked it off for me was my close buddy, my best friend. He had drank. He had came and talked to me about it. He's like, you never drank? You haven't drank? No, man. He's like, man, dude, it's actually kind of fun. He's like, I see you got, wine in there, this box wine in your mom's and dad's refrigerator. He's like, all we gotta do is just drink a couple big glasses and we'll be cool. And we did, and I threw up all over myself. I threw up all over the dishes. I threw up all over the house and passed out and, had a horrible time. My buddy was like, man, that was great. And I was like, you kind of, I guess. But that kind of kicked off this. I was like, okay, well, I don't like drinking, But then my cousin came to me and said, DJ, let me take you and we can get, high on marijuana. And I was like, I already drank, I'm already in this club of, mind-altering substances. So, okay, I guess I'll try that. I think I was 13 or 14. And I threw up all over myself that time too. So I didn't really have a good time with any of it, but it was just the beginning process of kind of luring me in, those little things. Even though it was bad, it was like, it was okay. And I was marking off a checklist like, oh, that's okay. Well, that's okay, you survived that. It was just gradually getting, more and more until one day we were with my buddies and we had gotten acid. And it was, we had never done it before. And then buddy's like, oh, well, here's, stimulant, cocaine. And we tried it and it wasn't, I wasn't throwing all over myself. I wasn't throwing up or anything, but it's those little moments that you do and you find it okay that just bring you.
Because it was fun.
Fun, you bring further.
Nothing bad happened.
Yeah, and it just drags you further and further down. You don't even know. It's like you're unaware of how dangerously,
so quickly.
Like heavy this is gonna, tear up your life. It's gonna be such a drag on everything. But for the moment it may seem cool, but it's going to tear you apart.
Yeah, so we actually started dating in high school and together used drugs quite a bit, went to parties, was drinking and doing drugs at the same time. And then our senior year, and I think you were introduced to meth a little bit sooner than I was, but our senior year, before I turned 18, is when I tried meth, and I just was instantly addicted to it, which is really scary because you have no chance. I mean, in NA, which is Narcotics Anonymous, they have a saying, and it is so true: one is too many, and 1,000 is never enough. And it couldn't be more true, that you should never try it once, and if you do, it's never going to be enough. And so, and we used drugs through our whole relationship there at the beginning.
I was introduced to it by my father, my father was never around. Finally, he came back around, and the fact that he was an over-the-road truck driver, and that he had a place in Odessa, and that's where I was going to school, I was like, man, if I could just live with him, then I could have the place to myself. But I got there, and one day he asked me, hey, have you ever done this? And no. All right, you want to? Anytime my dad talked to me, it was a good day, because he normally wasn't very talkative, and so in a way I was like, okay, well, we're bonding. I'm getting closer to my dad, which was, now that I have children, it's something I would never ever do. But that's exactly what God wanted me to feel and see, is like, hey, here's a great lesson of what not to do.
Yeah.
So now that I know that I would never ever do it to my children. But yeah, that's when I did it, and then me and Amber were together, and then she did it, and we had no idea. We didn't.
We had no idea what we were getting ourselves into.
No, but because it keeps you just away from the consequence of anything. That's why it's so dangerous. That's why you should never ever ever even try.
So we obviously graduated, and our inhibitions, were gone. We only desired to do this one drug, and our whole lives revolved around it. So we didn't go to college, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. We finally got a place of our own, somehow magically, even through all the drug use, and we became what they call functioning addicts, where we had just enough money to pay the bills and just enough to do drugs when we could.
When we moved in, we had a pillow and a comforter and a bag of chocolate chips. For
Took us 2 weeks to get
2
a bed.
weeks to get a bed.
And it was kind of a roller coaster with our drug use, where we'd be to the point where we're doing it almost every day. Things would start to crumble, our lives were falling apart, and then something would happen, and by the grace of God, we got arrested together, and that's when I got into drug court and had to get clean because of the random drug tests. And even though it was a blessing, I didn't look at it that way, and unfortunately didn't use that opportunity to really take in and learn the things that they were offering me.
That's the power of this drug. It'll just keep you away from responsibility and away from the
family, the people you love.
The truth of what's actually going down. It'll keep you, just elated towards, getting the next high. And it is cunning, and it's never worth it.
At one point in 2009, our relationship was just crumbling apart because of the drug. We were doing things that we wouldn't, as a sober person, do to one another. And the things obviously were extremely hurtful, and our relationship couldn't take it.
But there was this connection, this bond that we had that was
real.
That was
yes.
That was there that kept us.
Right. And so in 2009 we split. My car actually got stolen, which was a wake-up call for me. I was about ready to lose my job, which was very important to me. He had lost his job, and so we split. I went to rehab and got clean. I
went to Northeast and was a homeless person. It was tough for me. I kept going, and it took me further and further, and being, beaten, held against my will, and all this horrendous stuff that happened just because I decided to pursue a drug career instead of a life. But it was tough. So
and I actually met somebody during our time apart, and was clean for a little bit, and we got married, but I was still drinking. And that's something else in Narcotics Anonymous that they say is that alcohol is still a drug, and to me, it just caused me to get right back into the drug use because I was feeling good and I wanted to feel better. And so unfortunately, and I feel responsible for dragging my husband at the time into it. And our relationship didn't last either because of all that. We ended up splitting up and divorcing. And that's when DJ and I found each other again.
At the time, I was sober.
Yeah, and I wasn't. But I kind of got us back into using drugs again.
We all make our own decisions.
Right.
It's not, blaming, you or me. Obviously, I said yes. I mean, let's.
Right, yeah. And we, once again, we're right back where we were when we split up in '09, where we were doing extremely hurtful things to each other. We would, be living together and then we wouldn't. And this is where my darkest moments came from. And there were others too earlier on, but this is where I was just like at my lowest of low, and I really words can't describe to you the desperation and the sorrow that I felt in these times when I just realized what I was doing, how I was such a loser, that I was hurting all the people around me, that I was losing all of these wonderful blessings that God had given me. And I remember one night just being on my hands and knees and just pleading to God to please just give me a way to get clean, to get past this drug. And the thought of, if I could just have a child, I know, and I made a promise to God that I would never ever do drugs again if He would just give me this child.
I had the same thought.
Yeah.
I think that's why God kept us around, because, I could have had children with, other people, and it was very possible, but that wasn't in the books for me. And I would, having nowhere to live, by the grace of God, I was able to have shelter and to have, people that cared enough for me to bring me in and let me be out of the elements. I think I only had to sleep outside in a car like once and in a shed once. And so I was very lucky in that sense, but I would, I would plead to God, please God, if you just give me a child. I would see kids playing in a playground and I would be standing there and I'd just be crying. Just, please, if you could just give me a kid, please, God, I will never ever hurt them the way I was hurt. And, and then we actually ended up together one day, and, one day.
We weren't really
one
together
day,
anymore because of, like I said, the things we were doing.
Yeah, when, she had me come around and I was laying on her stomach one day, and I was laying there, and we were getting along, and I looked up at her and I said, no babies? No babies? And she said, no babies. But little did we know there was a baby in there.
So I actually got a staph infection, which is pretty easy to get when you're using drugs the way we were using, and not being healthy, not sleeping, and went to the hospital to have it looked at. And for some reason, I asked them to do a pregnancy test. I really don't know why. And sure enough, they came into the room and
she's positive, they said.
Told us that we were pregnant.
We were like, we didn't know.
We weren't expecting it at all.
No,
so,
we didn't even know what she meant when she walked in and said it. She goes,
oh yeah, that's
she's
right.
like, well, you're positive. And we were like, I was like,
what?
What is she sick with? And then, well, you're gonna have a child. And we both wept. It broke us down to where we were just crying and holding each other, and we knew that our days as drug addicts were over, and that our prayer that we both had, it was answered. She's positive. And then we just wept, and that was the beginning.
That was it. Yeah, that was like, okay, it's time. God's given us a gift. We need to take the gift that He gave us and put in the work. It's not about, God can bless us, but we have to put in the work, and it was tough. We struggled for a long time. We had lots of debt that we had accrued because of trying to pay for the drugs and pay for, living. And it was really hard. But we had a wonderful church and a wonderful family.
Support, yeah.
And so, yeah, we were able to come through it. And, it's still hard. We've been clean over 7 years now, and almost 8, actually. And I still will struggle with it, and it's never going to go away. We'll always be drug addicts, but
Just not actively
Not-
used.
yeah, but with God in our lives and having Him at the forefront and center of our lives, we can, rest easy knowing that we will never fall back into that life
And as
because
we-
we have God.
As the years go on, it gets easier.
It does get easier.
And less frequent your thoughts, but
Yeah.
you have to surround yourself with God, with people that
Good
love
people,
you, people that
yeah.
aren't going to bring you down and remind you of the things that you did or a life that you once had. But you guys are exactly where you're supposed to be, in a good place, in a school that loves you. And
Yeah, we just pray that, whoever's watching will will take in what we've said, and that it will be an opportunity to, to help somebody. Because I personally don't regret the terrible decisions that I made all those years. I mean, it was 14 years of just terrible, terrible choices. Because I feel like it's given me an amazing testimony and an opportunity to help those. Because I know, like I mentioned at the beginning, when I was in high school and was wondering why I was told not to do those things, I just wonder if I had been told the real reason why, that maybe it would have helped. So hopefully this helps you or helps others around you.
yeah, I believe that she doesn't regret it because she knows that she could be this testimony for all of you, for anyone who's here to listen and to kind of take heed. And like you said, years of it and then finally getting away from it. I appreciate the testimony, and I believe that is why we're here. I'm here to break the cycle of my family, and I'm here to be a great lesson and a great advocate for people that are kind of
Absolutely.
floundering
Struggling,
and
yeah.
struggling and worried and thinking about it. So just keep God near you and your family, and everything will be fine.